Today I'm at the Leffingwell Inn for my show, Let's Talk About History. And today is the 4th of July, and I hope you have a happy and safe 4th of July. I hope you enjoy my show, Let's Talk About History. Thank you.
Glorious and momentous occasion of some wonderful and amazing news from the Congress in Philadelphia. My name is Christopher Leffingwell. I am the proprietor and owner, as I said before. And today we have a few speakers that we would like to introduce to you. One is a good friend of mine, Colonel Durfee, and Elias Bliss, who will speak on some topics today. The acts that the British Parliament just passed, the intolerable consequences on the local inhabitants of New England and throughout the colonies. And so at 10:30, Colonel Durfee will speak on those acts, and then we will invite Elias Bliss to come up and give his interpretation of those acts and what those consequences mean to us locally. In the meantime, I invite you to stroll around the grounds, perhaps peek into the house and tavern, and we'll invite you back here at 10:30. After the two speakers, I will be reading a document just received from Philadelphia, our Declaration of Independence. Huzzah! Huzzah! Until then, be at your ease and enjoy yourselves.
See if Cam needs you guys to do anything.
Right here, that's the end.
I don't use it before. You guys want to-
I like this one better.
Very nice.
But it could have been just dallying about.
This is true. This is very true.
I was saying, I'm like, I can sign that with my private name.
Oh, yes, you can.
What, how does it go by for bigness? How do you know what size to buy for the first? All I know is that
I'm sure that all the parents of small children today are going to be thanking Bear indubitably for those orders.
Nope.
Bring it. Yeah, there you go.
Please gather around.
Straight up the top.
I get the flight to make flies. Well, yeah, I've got paper and stuff.
Well, welcome again, everyone. I'm Christopher Leffingwell, owner and proprietor of the tavern behind us. I would like to welcome you all here today. We have a few speakers. Before I read the proclamation from Philadelphia, I'd like to introduce Jonathan Durkee, Colonel, I should say. Excuse me. And he shall speak on the acts just levied by Parliament on us a month ago or so. The intolerable acts. We coined them. And so I give you Colonel Durkee.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
We live. Good morning to you on this glorious day. I am John Durkee. I am a good friend of my dear friend and neighbor, Christopher Leffingwell. It's a pleasure to be here at your elegant townhouse, sir. And it's a pleasure and a privilege to all share Mr. Leffingwell's space here today. And I'm here to talk to you about some of the events and happenings that are currently going on this very day in the year of our Lord, 1774. Just a month prior, we received news that several acts which had been enacted by the British Parliament way across a vast ocean have now gone into effect.
Ooh.
And thank you. Aye. One of these dastardly acts enacted by our dear mother country, the Boston Port Act.
Ooh.
Are you all aware that the Port of Boston has now been effectively shut down to all commercial traffic, not sanctioned by His Majesty himself? Our people in Boston are beginning to suffer. And I've heard reports coming out of the area that starvation is going rampant. There's disease outbreaking. And our dear friends and brethren up in Boston are suffering greatly. Today is the 4th of July, the year 1774. And just up the road from us, a gathering of men who have formed a local committee of correspondence will be meeting at the home of Azariah Lathrop, another dear friend of mine, a fellow tavern keeper. And my friend Jedediah Huntington is apparently heading this committee. And they are meeting as we speak up at the home of Mr. Lathrop. And as I understand, this committee of correspondence is functioning along some very similar lines that I've been used to. they're gathering together, and they're going to be seeking a number of subscribers to aid our citizens, our brethren up in Boston. They're going to be soliciting various individuals and proprietors of this city for cash donations, as well as donations of food and supplies that will be delivered directly to the city. We will circumvent His Majesty's blockade around the city, and we will be able to deliver the aid directly to the citizens of Boston. I urge each and every one of you, if you are approached by one of the committee members, please consider a generous donation to help our friends a little bit north of here. Here, here. Here, here. And I just can't help but think, just 10 years ago, I was in the service of His Majesty the King. I served for 6 years in His Majesty's service in our campaign against the French. And I served proudly. I was proud to wear the uniform of His Majesty. I was proud to have brothers and relatives and friends by my side as we expelled the French from this continent. We served proudly as Englishmen, and we recognize ourselves to have rights of Englishmen, and those rights are being infringed upon. In the year 1765, the British Parliament enacted the first of many acts that would come in succession, and that was known as the Stamp Act. We remember it very clearly here in Norwich. We protested the act that was passed in 1765, quite greatly, if I might say.
Here, here.
We didn't take very kindly to any folks around here that showed sympathy towards the act, or showed sympathy towards the actions coming from the Parliament. So much so that we even drove some of those agitators out of the town.
Here, here. Huzzah!
Huzzah! Perhaps if they have a change of heart, we will be quite sympathetic and forgiving and welcome them back with open arms. Perhaps. But I decided that there was not going to be a moment left to waste, for we saw an opportunity to bring the downfall of this act, which was an egregious affront to our rights as Englishmen. And so when we heard word that His Majesty's appointed agent for enforcing the act, Mr. Ingersoll was on his way from New Haven to Hartford, for we had been apparently a thorn in his side, and he decided to take his case towards Governor Fitch himself and plead for protection, for he knew that his life might just be at a bit of a risk. Now, we had no intentions of harming this man. I made it very clear to each and every person that I spoke with. We called ourselves Sons of Liberty. I said to each and every one of them, we are not about to stoop to a level of violence that will disrupt the order and structure of our lives. We are men, and we shall behave like men, is what I told them. When we heard that Mr. Ingersoll was leaving from New Haven to Hartford, I set out here from Norwich. This is almost 10 years ago now. And as I rode from Norwich, I gathered all of my fellow brethren that we could. We numbered about 500 or so. And on our way towards Hartford, we intercepted Mr. Ingersoll in the town of Wethersfield. And we met him on the green. And poor Mr. Ingersoll found himself surrounded by about 500 very angry colonials demanding his audience, which was granted. We confined Mr. Ingersoll to a nearby tavern up on the Broad Street Green in Wethersfield. And as I approached him, he didn't even have the decency to refer to me by my name. Do you want to know what he referred to me as? Commandant.
Oh.
I am no commandant. I am no thug wishing ill or violence upon anybody in particular. But I thought that nickname was quite amusing. In any event, he said to me, Commandant, what is it that you wish from me on this day? I said, our demands are very simple. You are to resign your commission as stamp agent for Connecticut. And you will not believe what he said. He said no. So we decided to give him about an hour to think it over. And boy, dear, reason certainly fell upon Mr. Ingersoll that day, because he decided that he was going to give up the ghost and resign his commission effective immediately. Because of his cooperation, we decided to grant Mr. Ingersoll a safe passage to Hartford under our escort, where he would read his resignation publicly before the Connecticut General Assembly and Governor Fitch. And he did so very willingly and with gusto, if I might add. And after he finished reading his statements, all of us shouted liberty and property 3 wonderful times. And I can't believe that was nearly 10 years ago now. And boy, how things have certainly deteriorated. We are now at a major crossroads with our mother country. Boston is now effectively under martial law as we speak. There are rumors and rumblings all throughout the community here about which town might be next. Which town might be next to suffer the wrath of His Majesty's soldiers that are quartered in the private homes of Bostonians. This is a dark hour that we're seeing. And I'm hearing reports also coming out of Boston that His Majesty's appointed governor, General Thomas Gage, has been rooting around trying to sniff out where we might be storing arms and armaments. These talks are beginning to grow amongst the inner circles, and it's giving me cause for concern. If His Majesty is going to dispatch agents to seize powder and arms and armaments in an attempt to effectively disarm the citizenry of this country, we will be thrown into a most dark hour. And I shudder to think about what the next stage might be for this growing conflict. I dare say war is a possibility. But I say this to each and every one of you, to take note of what's going on, to take note of what's going on in our communities. Keep informed. Keep your friends and family safe. These intolerable measures will not be tolerated. We have rights as Englishmen.
Huzzah!
Huzzah!
And we mustn't forget that. Our rights as Englishmen are not granted by His Majesty. They are granted by our Creator.
Here, here.
They are granted by our God.
Here, here.
And we mustn't lose sight of this. We would love to strike a compromise with His Majesty. We would like to strike a compromise with his agents and deputies and those in Parliament. And we have a few elected officials in the British Parliament representing our interests. Remember their names: Sir John Wilkes and Sir Isaac Barry, fellow veterans that I fought with in our campaign against the French. These men understand us. Remember their names. They are fighting for our cause, and we must support them as much as we can. I do hope that this growing conflict that we see may come to a peaceful resolution. But if in fact we are backed into a corner, if in fact our hands are forced, we will fight. Huzzah!
Huzzah!
I do hope everyone enjoys their time here at my friend Mr. Leffingwell's, and there will be some other folks that you may speak with who might provide you some perspective on what's going on, perhaps perspective contrary to the one I just provided to you. And I do believe our neighbor, Mr. Bliss, might be able to provide some perspective on that note.
Well known to you all, our esteemed friend and colleague, Elias Bliss.
Yes, good morning. Most of you know me as the town carpenter, cabinet maker, and cooper. And my shop has been here for 4 decades. I'm not here to talk about the political situation. I'm here to talk about how right here in Norwich, the Crown's policies have affected us very, very directly in our everyday lives. I have 3 questions that I propose to answer. Briefly, I'm not an orator. The first is, what can we all agree upon as the nature of our circumstances? The second is, how has British authority always treated us for more than a century? And the third thing is, what has happened since the end of the late war with the French in 1763. And I have just brief comments on each. The one thing that we can all agree on is the 13 colonies have 2.5 million people in them. Right now today, that's fully a third of the people living on the island of Britain. That's almost twice as large as the Scottish population, and it's larger than Scotland, Wales, Cornwall, and Surrey put together. Because we're not represented in Parliament, our interests are not factored into their decision making. But remember that, because it matters in the story I'm about to tell you. We are a significant part of the empire, even as it stands right now. The other thing that no one can debate is, what do we have here in New England in terms of natural endowments? We all know. We got lots of trees.
Yeah.
We got lots of hills. And we got lots of rocks. And actually, we have lots of children.
Yeah.
It's a healthy climate. No, it is a healthy climate. And our families grow here. So that's the nature of our circumstance, and we have to do the best we can with it. Now let's talk about how the Crown's policies have treated us. I was surprised when I looked it up that the Navigation Acts are from 1651, 120 plus years ago. And the intention of the Navigation Acts is explicitly to route all trade and manufactured and high-value goods. All of it must go on British ships, and it's put them through British ports, which means, as a businessman, that somebody else is taking a cut. I can't directly go to people who would want my cabinets, and I'll talk with ready money in their pocket, and sell them. No, I have to ship it through London. And that's true for everyone here in New England. Because, unlike some of the other colonies, we do not have cash crops. We can't make a great deal of money off of tobacco or indigo, rice, sugar, etc. We don't have those things. We don't have much choice but to create value out of our own hands. By the way, it was not only was it that act passed in 1651, it has been amended 29 times since then, an average of every 4 years. So you can be certain that that act is not in our best interest.
Here, here.
I think that it is, from the Crown's point of view, again, traditionally, they think of us as a parent-child relationship. And they're going to continue to instruct us what is the behavior that is in their best interests. They will restrict our trade opportunities, increase our costs, and in the long run, those hills and that falling water from the stream could be mills, could create an entire vibrant economy based on manufacturing, which is utterly denied to us now. So what's happened since the war? Well, what was the first thing, the very first thing the Crown did after the war? At the stroke of a pen, they wrote out the Proclamation Line. And the Proclamation Line basically says, on the western edge, any land that drains to the west, to the Mississippi, is not open to English settlement. Now, in so doing, from our point of view, here in New England and Connecticut in particular, they immediately did two things. Number one, they utterly said to all those serving veterans who, as part of their service, received grants in the Ohio's, So sorry. Go get it. They're canceled. Secondly, I mentioned our crops of children. Where are they going to go?
Yeah.
I mean, ultimately, it's not going to be too far in the future when families here in Norwich are going to have their children moving out and moving west, because there is very little land, even now, in New England available for development. So the first stroke of the pen after that war was absolutely, with no connection to us, advice from us, to cut all those opportunities out. And then there was the string of acts that was mentioned by the Colonel. The Stamp Act was so ludicrous that it was ultimately rescinded, but by no means the only one. I had to make a list of them. I can't keep this number of items in my mind. Townsend Acts, Declaratory Acts, Intolerable Acts, Quartering Acts, Quebec Acts. It's just one after another. And now with the latest action, there's no limit to what these people are going to do. And all the while, they effectively have been abolishing trial by jury, canceling our legislatures, invalidating laws most wholesome that we have passed. And in the last 18 months, make no mistake about it, they have been soliciting troops, mercenary troops in Central Europe. They have been funding a genocidal war on the frontier with the Native Americans, paying for scalps.
Yeah.
And as recent events in Falmouth and Norfolk show, which were both burned to the ground, revealed their true hand.
Yeah.
So, am I a Whig? You betcha. But I'll sign up. Thank you.
Now, ladies and gentlemen, I have the extreme pleasure to read you this document, which was received from us via Boston, from Philadelphia, printed in Boston. It's a declaration. The Declaration of our Independence. And I shall read it to you. Excuse me, but given to me by Dr. Franklin himself. But the odd thing is that you can't see with them and you can't see without them. It says here, in Congress, July 4th, 1776, a declaration by the representatives of the United States of America in General Congress assembled. When, in the course of human events, it becomes necessary for one people to dissolve the bands which have connected them with another, and to assume among the powers of the earth the separate and equal station to which laws of nature and of nature's God entitle them, a decent respect to the opinions of mankind requires that they should declare the causes which impel them to the separation. We hold these truths self-evident, that all men are created equal, that they are endowed by their creators with certain unalienable rights, that among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, that to secure these rights, governments are instituted among men, deriving their just powers from the consent of the governed, that whenever any form of government becomes destructive of these ends, it is the right of the people to alter or to abolish it, and to institute new government, laying its foundations on such principles and organizing its powers in such form as they shall seem most likely to affect their safety and happiness. Prudence indeed will dictate that governments long established should not be changed for light and transient causes. And accordingly, all experience hath shown that mankind are more disposed to suffer while evils are sufferable, than to right themselves by abolishing the forms to which they are accustomed. But when a long train of abuses and usurpations, pursuing invariably the same object, evinces a design to reduce them under absolute despotism, it is their right, it is their duty to throw off such government and to provide new guards for their future security. Such has been the patient sufferance of these colonies, and such is now the necessity to which constrains them to alter their former system of government. The history of the present King of Great Britain is a history of repeated injuries and usurpations, all having the direct object the establishment of an absolute tyranny over these states. To prove this, let the facts be submitted to a candid world. He has refused his assent to laws the most wholesome and necessary for the public good. He has forbidden his governors to pass laws of immediate and pressing importance, unless suspended in their operation until his assent should be obtained. And when so suspended, he has utterly neglected to attend to them. He has refused to pass laws for the accommodation of large districts of people, unless those people would relinquish their rights of representation in the legislature, the right inestimable to them and formidable to tyrants only. He has called together legislative bodies at places unusual, uncomfortable, and distant from their depository of their public records for the sole purpose of fatiguing them into compliance with his measures. He has dissolved representative houses repeatedly for opposing with manly firmness his invasions on the rights of the people. He has refused for a long time, after such dissolution, to cause others to be elected, whereby the legislative powers incapable of annihilation have returned to the people at large for their exercise. The state remaining returned to the people at large, the state remaining in the meantime exposed to all dangers of invasion from without and convulsions from within. He has endeavored to prevent the populations of these states for that purpose, obstructing the laws of naturalization of foreigners, refusing to pass others to encourage their migration hither, and raising new conditions of appropriations of land. He has obstructed the administrative justice by refusing his assent to laws for establishing judiciary powers. He has made judges dependent on his will alone for the tenure of their office and the amount of payment of their salaries. He has erected a multitude of new offices and sent hither swarms of officers to harass our people and to eat out their substance. He has kept among us in times of peace standing armies without consent of our legislature. He has affected to render the military independent and superior of civil power. He has combined with others to subject his jurisdiction foreign to our Constitution and unacknowledged by our laws, giving his assent to their acts of pretended legislation, for quartering large bodies of armed troops among us, for protecting them by mock trial from punishment from any murders which they should commit on the inhabitants of these states, for cutting off our trade with all parts of the world, for imposing taxes without our consent, for depriving us with many causes of the benefits of trial by jury, for depriving us for transporting us beyond seas to be tried for pretended offenses, for abolishing the free system of English laws in the neighboring province, establishing therein an arbitrary government and enlarging its boundaries so as to render it at once an example and fit instrument for introducing the same absolute rule into these colonies, for taking away our charters, abolishing our most valuable laws, and altering fundamentally the forms of our government, for suspending our legislatures and declaring themselves invested with power to legislate for us in all cases whatsoever. He abdicated government here by declaring us out of his protection and waging war against us. He has plundered our seas, ravaged our coasts, burnt our towns, and destroyed the lives of our people. He is, at this time, transporting large armies of foreign mercenaries to complete the works of death, desolation, and tyranny already begun with circumstances of cruelty and perfidy scarcely paralleled in the most barbaric ages, and totally unworthy to be the head of our civilized nation. He has constrained our fellow citizens to be taken captive on the high seas, bear arms against their country, to become the executioners of their friends and brethren, or to fall themselves by their hands. He has excited domestic insurrection among us, and has endeavored to bring on the inhabitants of our frontiers, the merciless Indian savages, whose known rule of warfare is undistinguished destruction of all ages, sexes, and conditions. In every stage of these oppressions, we have petitioned for redress in the most humble terms. Our repeated petitions have been answered only by repeated injury. A prince whose character is thus marked by every act which may define a tyrant is unfit to be the ruler of a free people. Nor have we been wanting in intentions to our British brethren. We have warned them from time to time of attempts by their legislature to extend an unwarrantable jurisdiction over us. We have reminded them of the circumstances of our emigration and settlement here. We have appealed to their native justice and magnanimity. And we have conjured them by the ties of our common kindred to disavow these usurpations, which would inevitably interrupt our connections and correspondence. They too have been deaf to the voice of justice and consanguinity. We must therefore acquiesce in necessity, which denounces our separation, and hold them as we hold the rest of mankind, enemy in war, in peace, friends. We therefore, the representatives of the United States of America in General Congress, assembled, appealing to the Supreme Judge of the world for the rectitude of our intentions, do, in the name and by the authority of the good people of these colonies, solemnly publish and declare that these united colonies are and of right ought to be free and independent states, that they are absolved from all allegiance to the British Crown, and that all political connection between them and the state of Great Britain is and ought to be totally dissolved, and that as a free and independent states, we have full power to levy war, conclude peace, contract allies, establish commerce, and to do all other acts and things which independent states may of right do. And for the support of this declaration, we affirm with a firm reliance on the protection of divine providence, we mutually pledge to each other our lives, our fortunes, and our sacred honors. Signed by order and in behalf of the Congress, John Hancock, President.
Huzzah!
God bless America.
God bless our states. God bless George Washington, and God bless our soldiers.
Amen.
That concludes our scripted and reading and carrying on and such. We do invite you to come inside. We have some historic documents which you may be interested in taking a look at. And I will also be taking on anyone that wishes to sign up for the militia, local militia, may do so. Just come see me in the parlor. Thank you very much, everyone.
Thank you.
And I think that's going to be recorded at the end.
Oh, and we invite everyone to come up and sign the declaration here as a affirmation of your resolution and resolve to support our cause.
I'll sign it. I'm gonna sign it.
That was good, though.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
I'll sign it.
And good people of the English colonies, I must heed your warning that putting your name on this paper means that if we do, which we won't, I promise you, but if we do lose this conflict with our mother country, that name will give you your sentence. You will be hanged from the neck until you are dead, dead, dead. For treason, of course.
Sign big so that His Majesty may see it.
Sees your name and reads it.
So you will die a martyr for our sons.
He does not have glasses like that.
Okay, there you go.
Aye.
I should correct you, kind sir. That's if you're lucky. You could be drawn and quartered.
Drawn and quartered,
Oh.
if you're unlucky, like our dear friend President Hancock. Or maybe if you're a little debatably lucky or unlucky.
My estimation
Firing
is that
squad.
there will be no alternative, but we will be victorious in this cause.
Aye. Your forms will perish, but your souls and your spirit will live on.
Hello, my name is Jolicoeur. Welcome to my show, Let's Talk About History. Today I'm at the Norwich, Connecticut 4th of July fireworks 2024. As John Adams said, Independence Day should be celebrated with fireworks. I hope you enjoy my show. Thank you.
Hey!